The explosion was not supposed to happen that way. The sea buckled like it had been punched from below, throwing a curtain of black water into the air, and for a split second every man on the destroyer froze, because the blast had come too fast, too close, too deep. Lieutenant Mark Ellison gripped the rail as the deck shuddered beneath his boots, his ears ringing, his heart hammering with a single sickening thought. That charge wasn't set like that. Hours earlier, the North Atlantic had been gray and endless, the kind of water that swallowed ships whole and never bothered to remember them. The convoy crept eastward, merchant ships packed tight like nervous animals, escorted by a handful of destroyers already worn thin by months of submarine hunting. Ellison had not slept in 30 hours. He was not a hero. Not yet. He was a quiet ordnance officer, the kind men forgot during roll call and overlooked at mess. 32 years old. Good with mechanisms. Bad with people. The Navy liked officers like him because he followed procedures, until tonight. Sonar had screamed just before dawn. A German U-boat, close. Too close. Depth charges rolled off the stern in sequence, splashing into the sea like steel coffins. 10 seconds passed. Then 15. Then 20. Nothing. The U-boat slipped away again like all the others had. Weeks of failures. Weeks of watching oil slicks fade into nothing while submarines vanished beneath thermoclines and luck. Ellison stared at the depth charge racks as sailors reloaded. His jaw tightened. He knew something they didn't. For months, he had studied after-action reports, where explosions happened, where submarines escaped, how pressure waves dispersed. He'd seen the pattern. The standard depth settings were wrong. Too shallow. Too predictable. German captains had learned how to ride the blast, how to dive just below the kill zone. Ellison had run the numbers in secret. He'd recalibrated one charge in the armory hours earlier, changing the hydrostatic trigger, deepening it, tightening the detonation curve. It violated regulations. It violated doctrine. It violated orders. But it might work. When the command came, release. Ellison didn't stop it. The altered charge slid into the Atlantic, and then the ocean erupted. Now, as water rained back onto steel, the sonar operator shouted, voice breaking. Contact lost, no wait, massive hull rupture. Silence followed. Then a cheer started, uncertain at first, then spreading like wildfire. Ellison didn't cheer, because he knew what he'd done, and he knew what would happen next. Far below, a German U-boat lay broken in two, its steel spine crushed by pressure it had never encountered before. And above, on a pitching destroyer, one officer stared at his hands, realizing he had crossed a line that could not be uncrossed. The Navy loved rules for the same reason the ocean loved storms, because chaos killed people. Every weapon aboard a U.S. warship was governed by manuals thicker than Bibles. Depth charges especially. Their settings were sacred, calculated to minimize risk to friendly vessels and maximize consistency. Ellison's change did neither. He'd altered the hydrostatic fuse by less than a second. Barely noticeable. But underwater, pressure didn't care about barely. Pressure multiplied mistakes. He had discovered that German U-boats, when detected, dove just deep enough to let standard charges explode above them. The blast wave lost strength before it reached the hull. Ellison's modification delayed detonation until the pressure gradient peaked. Instead of a punch, it delivered a crushing hand. After the first kill, the captain demanded an explanation. Ellison told the truth. He stood in the wardroom, pale, exhausted, and admitted everything: unauthorized testing, altered arming depth, intentional deviation from protocol. No one spoke. Finally, the captain exhaled slowly. How many more of those do you have? Ellison swallowed. 3, sir. The captain looked at the convoy on the chart, then at the sonar contacts multiplying around them. Load them. The second U-boat died an hour later. The third tried to surface, only to be shattered mid-rise. By nightfall, 4 U-boats were gone. Word spread across the task group. Whispers first. Then, awe. Sailors slapped Ellison's back. Engineers begged to see the schematics. Officers asked questions they pretended not to ask. By dawn, the count reached 7. 7 German submarines destroyed in less than 24 hours. The ocean was littered with wreckage, oil, and the unspoken weight of hundreds of men lost beneath the waves. Victory tasted bitter, because messages were already coming in. From command, from admirals, from Washington, and none of them sounded pleased. Success terrified the Navy more than failure ever could. 7 U-boats lost in one sector, by one escort group, using one altered weapon. This was not how wars were supposed to be won. It raised questions. Dangerous ones. Had Ellison endangered his own ship? Had the blast radius risked hull failure? What if merchant vessels were too close? What if inexperienced crews copied the modification and killed themselves? Ellison was pulled from the ship within 48 hours. No ceremony. No praise. Just orders. He was flown to a naval base in Scotland, escorted by 2 officers who did not speak to him. In a windowless room, he was interrogated for 14 hours. They asked him everything. Why he did it. Who helped him. Whether he intended to bypass command authority. Whether he understood the consequences. Ellison answered quietly. I was tired of watching them escape. That answer made no one comfortable. A board of inquiry convened. Engineers praised the physics. Strategists admired the results. Lawyers recoiled at the liability. Admirals argued doctrine. In the end, the decision was simple. The modified depth charge was banned. Officially, the Navy cited safety uncertainties. Unofficially, they feared a weapon too powerful, too unpredictable, too dependent on individual initiative. Ellison was reassigned. Promoted quietly. Forbidden to speak about the incident. The war moved on. But German U-boat losses spiked in the Atlantic, even without his weapon. Captains grew cautious. Escorts grew bolder. The balance began to tilt. Ellison watched from a distance, knowing his idea had opened a door, whether the Navy wanted to admit it or not. Ellison spent 2 years training others while pretending he hadn't changed the war. He taught ordnance safety, procedures, compliance. At night, he dreamed of pressure waves. By the way, if you're holding on to this moment with me, walking the thin line between genius and punishment, make sure to hit subscribe. More waits just ahead. Letters arrived from sailors who'd heard rumors. From engineers who suspected the truth. From widows who never knew why their convoys survived. He never replied. The Navy quietly revisited his work in 1944. New depth charges emerged, stronger, deeper, smarter. Officially unrelated. Practically identical. No apology came. But no court-martial either. Ellison understood then. The Navy didn't intervene to stop him. They intervened to control the story. Ellison never celebrated the 7 kills. He saw faces instead. Young German sailors trapped in steel coffins. Men following orders like he had. The ocean did not care whose flag they served. He visited memorials after the war. Stood alone. Remembered the sound of the blast. War reduced morality to mathematics. Survival to decimals. Ellison returned home changed. Quiet. Invisible. History books mentioned improved anti-submarine tactics. They did not mention him. Decades later, a historian found the records. Redacted. Fragmented. But clear enough. A sailor. A modification. 7 U-boats. Ellison was old when the Navy finally acknowledged it, privately. A letter. A handshake. No medals. He accepted it with a nod. That's enough, he said. Ellison died quietly. The ocean kept its secrets. But somewhere beneath the Atlantic, 7 broken hulls rested in silence. Proof that sometimes history turns not on orders, but on one man willing to break them.